Good evening. Welcome. Thank you all for coming out on this lovely evening in New York City. My name is Jane Nuzzo, and I'm the Director of SVA Alumni Affairs, and it is my very great pleasure to bring you tonight's presentation on creative entrepreneurship. This evening's presentation is presented in partnership with SVA Alumni Affairs and SVA Career Development. This evening, we will explore the alchemy of the creative impulse and the entrepreneurial spirit, as our outstanding panel of SVA alumni discuss the spectrum from frustration to triumph of their experiences working independently in cooking and culinary arts, film, fine arts, graphic design, product design, publishing, video and new media, and web, app, and game design. Before I introduce the panel, I'd like to highlight a couple of things to you. Please note that this Friday, Career Development is hosting a related event, a follow-up discussion on creative entrepreneurship, and details can be found in your program, so please take a look at that. And also, following this evening's program, SVA alumni are invited to join us in the lobby for a private networking reception. Alumni, please exit the theater to the right in order to check in immediately following the event. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce tonight's wonderful panel. Moderating this evening is Patricia Romeo. Patty is an Emmy Award-winning film producer and Assistant Director of Career Development at SVA. Joining Patty are Justin Genak. Justin is an award-winning art director, co-founder of Working Not Working, which has won 2 Webby Awards and was named by Entrepreneur Magazine as one of the 100 Brilliant Companies of 2013. He has gained notoriety for creating projects such as NYC Garbage and Wants for Sale, Needs for Sale. He also created the best-selling Christmas app, Elf Yourself. Melissa Hamilton is a home cook, writer, painter, and co-founder of Canal House, a cookbook and food photography production studio. Hamilton worked at Saveur with her creative and business partner, Christopher Hersheimer, who also joins us this evening. Together, they currently publish Canal House Cooking, and they have produced videos for the Bon Appetit series, The Seasonal Cooks, and their books have been honored with awards from the James Beard Foundation and nominations from the IACP in photography and food styling. Michael Harry is an executive producer of live action and animated commercials, music videos, documentaries, films, and new media content. He owns a production company, Concentrate LLC, and has produced campaigns for clients such as Chanel, Chase, Diesel, HSBC, Johnson & Johnson, and MTV. He is also co-founder and CMO for Oval, a tech company that has created the first consumer smart sensor. Lauren Hom is a California-born, Brooklyn-based designer and letterer. She has created work for clients like AT&T, Starbucks, Time, and YouTube. Lauren was recently cited in New York Magazine's Reasons to Love New York for her Will Letter for Lunch project, and is the author of the blog Daily Dishonesty. Her work has been recognized by the Art Directors Club, Communication Arts, the One Club, and the Webby Awards. And finally, Kat Small. Kat is a gamer, product designer, and front-end web developer at SoundCloud. She has created design work for companies such as Bedrocket, NASDAQ OMX, and Scholastic. She makes video games with Buttered Toast Studios and Brooklyn Gamery, organizes events for Tech Under 30, teaches game development with the Code Liberation Foundation, and draws comics. Please join me in welcoming this evening's panel, the Creative Entrepreneur.
Hi guys, my name is Lauren, and my current entrepreneurial endeavor is running my own kind of one-woman illustration studio. I do work for advertising clients and editorial clients, and at the time I'm also promoting my book, Daily Dishonesty, which actually started as a blog that I started when I was a student at SVA, and we just rolled out with a whole line of paper products as well.
Hi, I'm Justin. Right now I'm put all of my side art projects on the back burner. I've been focusing for the past 3 years on Working Not Working. And basically, Working Not Working is an invite-only curated network of the best freelance creatives in the country. And it started out because my business partner, Adam Tompkins, and I were both freelancers. And we realized when you're a freelancer, it's so hard to find work. Whenever you need work, you have to email everybody you know in the entire world trying to find a gig. And then it takes forever for them to get back to you. And finally, as soon as you get a gig, like without fail every single time, you get 5 offers for other jobs when you absolutely can't take them. So we thought we'd make it really simple, almost like a vacancy sign. Freelancers go on the site, they make a really simple profile with their current availability, whether they're working, available, or available soon. And then companies, brands, ad agencies go on and they follow their favorite freelancers and get notified the second they become available for jobs.
My current venture is a group called Open Gamery, and we are making a game called Prism Shell, which was the one that was shown earlier. And we started at a hackathon, and we decided we wanted to make a game because there was like a games category, and we found out that we really liked working together, so we just kind of kept going from there and formed our own company. And there's always some bumps, especially with game development. So even though we'd started in October 2013, and we technically finished like a first version of the game, we realized we really had a lot of work to do, and the operating system we had initially been actually building this game for ended up being delayed indefinitely at the time. So we just decided to switch and kind of like build out the game more, and we are almost actually ready to release it now. And I've been doing a lot of user experience design, game design, marketing design, web development, all kinds of things for this game, and it's been a lot of fun.
I always have about 15 projects and running at one time. The one I'm currently most involved with is Oval, which is a small sensor that can detect any changes in motion, acceleration, light, temperature, moisture, and proximity. And whenever it's disturbed, it'll send an alert to your phone or email anywhere in the world instantly. So the idea being, in a nutshell, you can use these to monitor doors, windows, alcohol cabinets, prescription drugs, cleaning chemicals, your pet, your child, and it's not as big brother as you think, but it can really protect the people, pets, and things that you care about most, and that's what our ultimate goal is.
Hi there, I'm Melissa Hamilton, and Christopher Hersheimer and I have a company called Canal House Cooking, and we produce, design, write, photograph, illustrate a series of seasonal cookbooks called Canal House Cooking. Our studio is in Lambertville, New Jersey. We have produced 9 books so far. One of them, Canal House Cooks Every Day, which was a James Beard award-winning book. It was fun. And we are working on our next book and a bunch of others, and just like all of us as entrepreneurs, which we crack up when we hear that word. But you've got a lot of projects in the fire. You have to. So there we are.
So all of you have an active online presence that's helped you develop what you're currently doing. Some of you have built a great following with your blogs, Kat with the Cat Suite, Lauren with the blog Daily Dishonesty, Melissa and Christopher with Canal House Cooks, Justin and Michael, you both mentioned that using social media and or portfolio sites helped you build your current ventures. So I'd like to ask you each to talk about this in more detail, what you've done online and how it has helped you. Just choose, one example.
I think the biggest thing, besides my blog, which started a long time ago at this point, has definitely been Twitter. For me, it works really well. I try to stay away from here's what I'm eating, or wow, I just went to the bathroom, which is fine, but I really try to make it kind of relevant for people, and I guess people have started to find it interesting, and now I have almost 2,000 followers, which in comparison to a lot of people I know isn't a lot, but when I started, I had none, and then I had 300, and then come 3 years later or so, and now I have a fair amount, and it's been really great, and just going to all these different events and following people on Twitter, and it's gone a long way. It's really fun.
Yeah, social media or my online presence. Yeah, for me it was definitely a Tumblr, but that's the entire reason I have my freelance job now. I started this blog, Daily Dishonesty. I was maybe senior at SVA, and I drew up a bunch of posts and threw some hashtags on them, and I woke up the next morning with 1,000 followers, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah, it's definitely the reason. Like, my literary agent found me because the blog was circulating around the internet, and so yeah, just an online presence has been huge. It's been the entire reason I have my job.
I think for me, most of the stuff I put on the internet is because I'm a smartass, and somehow it just turns into a job. So, like, the best example of this is on my own portfolio site. Kind of annoyed with the process of trying to find freelance gigs. I thought it would be super obnoxious to put a blinking neon sign on my portfolio site that said whether I was working, available, or available soon. And I called it an overutilization of technology because I had a Facebook group, a Twitter feed, a text alert, an iPhone app, and a mailing list, all for people to find out when I'm available to freelance. And it got to the point where I had 40 ad agencies following me, and every time I'd flip my status to available, I'd get 2 or 3 job offers within a day. And any jobs I couldn't take, I would just email my senior art director friends and it'd be like, hey, you guys want this? And it got to the point where even if it said I was working, managers would hit me up and say, yeah, I see you're working, Justin, are any of your friends available? So I'm like, oh, I'm a rep. And then so Adam and I realized, well, if that could work for me, it probably could work for everybody. And then it became a legitimate job. And now 3 years later, I've retired from freelancing and we're working full time on this, building this amazing community of super talented people. So it started as me being an idiot, like, turned into something real, which is, you kind of never know what's going to happen.
Do you remember Crazy Eddie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Crazy Eddie, the guy was like, the prices you cannot believe. It was like he was the most obnoxious guy on TV. And you couldn't, you sound like that guy.
I'll take it.
He really did well, right?
Yeah.
He sold a lot of electronics.
Crazy.
Anyway, we're about the opposite of you, I gotta say. We're very quiet. We have a blog. It's called Canal House Cooks Lunch, and we post it every day that we're in the studio cooking lunch. And it's a photograph with a what do they call them? Caption. A caption about what we've had for lunch. Exactly the opposite of what you say. And we have a pile of followers, and we do it as an inspiration and no commerce, nothing, just giving a suggestion of something. And we've heard from so many people that incredibly busy, important people who say, oh my God, I wait for your blog to post each day because it is this one moment, this little tiny moment, 15 seconds, and I look at your photograph and it's so real and it's so delicious and inspiring. And you're not trying to sell me anything, you're not telling me about what your belly button fur fuzzball looks like today. It really, and so, in a very sort of quiet way, we get it out there. Whatever, I don't know how to say it.
But we started that quickly. We started it because we heard that everyone was doing a blog. So we said, oh my God, well, we have to do a blog.
Yeah.
So we didn't even know what that was. So we started writing these little gems of stories. And we had a copy edited. It would take us about 3 weeks to get this much copy up. And the three people said, that's not a blog, that it's supposed to be like this. And so we said, we said, okay. What do we do every day? Every day we cook lunch. We take photographs. Let's just take a picture of what we cook and say what it is. And what happened, what Melissa is saying, is that, everyone wishes that they could stop. And we used to be editors in New York writing about food. But what would happen is we'd be sitting there at about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon eating a stale sandwich, We'd be telling America what they should be eating. But the reality was we weren't doing it. But now we've left that world. and we were actually making lunch and eating lunch, and we'd stop and eat together and talk about things. And so, in a way, it was sort of, we were, people found that hopeful, and they could imagine themselves someday in that position that they could slow down enough. So in a way, it was anti-everything, but it ended up really working for us. And this book that we did, Canal House Cooks Every Day, we based the whole book on that, just because we did it every single day, you know, and it spoke to people, so it helped us.
And it doesn't hurt that the photos are beautiful and the food looks really delicious.
Our particular entrepreneurship venture right now, Canal House, you know, we started our studio, which was just a photography studio. We shoot a lot of cookbooks for people, other people's cookbooks. And then we but we've been food editors for years, both of us, and for different magazines, and ultimately came together at one magazine. But we just shot people's cookbooks, and we'd make their food and photograph it for their books. But every day we'd come to the studio and we'd talk about what we'd cooked last night, what we were going to cook for lunch today, what we were going to cook for dinner. And we really do know how to cook, you know? And so we just said, and often some of these recipes wouldn't even, the people that we were shooting for, they wouldn't be very good. We'd say, oh my God. So we said,
Yeah, so we had an idea, and
and
we've
that's
never,
number one.
and that, yeah, it's number one for all of us here. You know, you can have discipline, you can have, you can be, what are you, obnoxious?
Self-appointed, yeah.
And all of that stuff, but you have to have an idea.
Yeah.
And everybody can take a picture now. Everybody can take a picture, a groovy picture, and but it does. You have to have an idea, and so we did have an idea. And besides the fact that I'm a huge believer in collaboration, and it happens. That's the best way that I work, is collaborating. I've done it all my life, and so that's very helpful. But the idea was for these seasonal cookbooks that were a subscription format, which was also something
that was the business model.
That was the business model, was the subscription format. So it was a little bit confusing for some people because they don't know if it's a book or a magazine, but they are individual books that happen to be available through a subscription model. And we had a very, where am I going with this?
Oh, you're going good. You're going good.
I could say that, you know, we had strong feelings about the small bookstores, independent bookstores, and that Amazon was sort of gobbling up all the bookstores, and we wanted to make something that kept taking people back into the bookstore.
You know what happened? We saw the music business. You have to look at everything, you know, but we noticed, actually, we went online to buy a David Byrne, Brian Eno CD, and actually you couldn't get it on iTunes. You couldn't download the music. So we continued to Google, and it turned out they had a website, and they were selling their own music themselves. You could download it, plus they sent you a CD. You could do it all easily. You gave them their credit card. It was protected. I mean, this was maybe 7 years ago. And the minute you see, I mean, that's one of the interesting things looking into the creative community. And music is often first, because let's face it, musicians are often ripped off by the corporations. And so they just decided they didn't need a middleman. They didn't need a label. They could do it themselves. And that really made us realize we had an idea, but we had a business model. And so those two things together, and we were inspired by the music business. And so we thought we could do it. And all our friends in publishing said, you can't do that. But actually, because of the music business, we took our courage, we went ahead, and that was a really good idea because that's what made us. So it was the internet that really helped us. So if that's in line.
The internet makes everything possible.
Yeah, everything. It's everything.
Yeah. Well, so I was full-time in advertising for 5 years, and in advertising you get really good at coming up with ideas and then killing ideas, or coming up with ideas and presenting them and focus grouping them and then watching them die again. But I learned a lot about just being prolific and coming up with ideas and not being precious about them. So when I went freelance, and my main priority going freelance was because I wanted to work on my own art and my own personal projects. And the one thing I realized is when I'm selling New York City garbage, or we're selling our wants for sale paintings, all the things I learned in advertising still apply. Like, you have to have an idea that people will give a shit about. And people are bombarded with so much stuff every day. You almost need to give gifts to the world. You need to give gifts to the internet. And like, Lauren's really good at that. And a lot of, you see people that have huge Twitter followings and have huge followings in general, and a huge fan base, they just do a lot and put it out there into the world and not expecting something back. And so having the ability to be able to fine tune those ideas and really make sure I'm putting stuff out there that I think people will be into is a valuable lesson. And I also put out stuff that nobody gives a shit about. And I go and spend a week on that, and I'm like, oh cool, nobody forwarded it to their friends. My mom didn't even repost it on Facebook. These are my biggest fans, my friends and family on Facebook, and if they don't post it, then it's probably a crappy idea. So then it's such a good litmus test. You post it, nobody cares, you move on to the next thing. So, yeah.
Kind of rolling off of what Justin said. I started my blog, Daily Dishonesty, as kind of a gift to the internet. I was a senior in college, and I just started for fun. I realized I didn't even tell you guys what it is. It's basically a collection of hand-lettered illustrations that are little white lies we tell ourselves every day. So, like, calories don't count on the weekends, or I just have one more glass of wine. Just cute, little, funny, easy-to-digest things. And I just kind of started putting them out there because I wanted to start practice lettering. I had only taken one type class at SVA because I was a 4-year ad major like Justin, and I kind of had this plan in my head that I was going to graduate and I was going to work in an agency for 5 years, become a creative director, and then go freelance. Actually, when I got my job at BBDO, Justin was like, "What? Like, what are you doing?"
I met her and I had seen her stuff, and then she told me she was in advertising. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, we have enough of those people. You're so good at lettering, you should just go do that.
My story is that I had that 5-year plan in my head, and I'm a very practical person, so I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so I graduated SVA. I got a job as an art director at BBDO, which is a big ad firm in New York, and I only lasted 9 months there. Freelancing actually, or this entrepreneurial thing, was kind of an accident. Daily Dishonesty, which started as the little gift for the internet, blew up in a year, and by the time that I was ready to leave BBDO, I had a book out, and that kind of allowed me, it just kind of naturally happened, to be honest. And like Justin said too, what I take from advertising into my, I guess, illustration is that the idea definitely has to be there. I mean, if you spend 4 years of the SVA ad program, it's all just like idea. You can't even execute anything until there's a good idea. And so that, I think, I'm really glad I went to SVA for advertising because it gives me an edge as an illustrator.
Yeah, and being conceptual as an illustrator.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So, fun story, I actually chose not to go for advertising. I had the choice, and I was kind of like, wow, I really don't like selling stuff like that. I want to tell people information. So I went for graphic design instead. But before I even went, right? Yeah. So before I even went into to school at SVA, I had previously gone to LaGuardia High School, which is in New York, and it's like an art school. And I had done like some work with this company when I was like 16 or 17. That was called like 3i or Girl Approved, and we basically did like client work. We were kind of like a little agency, but like it was about like improving how companies communicated with young women, and I was a young woman, so it kind of worked out. And I also got a lot of design experience, and I kind of figured out like I want to do something that's like design, graphics. Like I want to keep exercising these skills, but I didn't really know how. And then I went to school and I had a lot of fun, and I ended up coming out as more of a web interaction designer. But I actually don't really like freelancing very much because dealing with clients can be a giant pain in the butt. But I did figure out that I really want to create my own things and execute my own vision. And conveniently enough, most of the places that I've worked at have allowed me to be very autonomous, so I haven't really had an issue in terms of like a day job or anything like that. But yeah, freelance is not my thing. And I learned that because I had the experience and practice of working with companies like Scholastic and figuring out how that process works. So that was really good. But I also have learned a lot by working at startups about business and communication and testing, and my work as a product designer heavily influences the way that I do the rest of the work that I'm doing. So if I'm working on a game, I make sure to really test it and do a lot of research, competitive analysis. Because of my experience at the agency I worked at as a teenager, I know a lot about marketing and communication and how I should angle things toward people. So overall, yeah, I mean, so many different parts of my life have really contributed to the work that I do now, and it's pretty great.
In my path has basically been, I graduated in the film program, and during my program, I knew a little bit about everything, but there was always somebody who was a better director, writer, lighter, and I just kind of fell into the habit of finding the better people for the jobs and kind of overseeing that, and I didn't quite know what it meant until I had an internship at Saturday Night Live, which is such a beautiful, organized chaos. And I really learned what producing was. And I said, oh, I guess I'm a producer. So the day I graduated from SVA, I just started my own company with a few other people in different mediums. So I was in film, I had a computer artist, a photographer, and a graphic designer because, I figured, why not just do everything? And since then, in 2002, it's really been trial by fire. I don't know how to do anything else. I still don't know how to do my job some days. And every single day, every single moment, I'm learning a new experience. But what I found 15 years later is I've had a lot of situations where people have come to me and wanted to help realize a vision. And I found that outside of having a production company, I also can kind of help connect the right people for the right jobs, and I kind of insert myself in a way that is appropriate and makes sense. And as a result, looking back, I'm fortunate enough to be a partner in a lot of like really great companies on a very small scale. But I feel that kind of I have no idea where that trajectory will lead me to, but I'm just kind of along for the ride.
So in our earlier talks, several of you discussed the importance of building strong relationships throughout your career. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how you accomplished the relationship building, how you went about relationship building at different phases in your career, and how that's helping you today. And anyone who wants to start on this can.
One thing I realized when I was working, and I'm glad I realized it early, is not to be an asshole. Because that goes a long way, because especially when you go in freelance after, I realized freelance is kind of like purgatory, and if you were a terrible person in your previous life working full-time, nobody's going to want to work with you, and they're going to have a choice now, and they're not going to hire you. And then if you were really great to work with, then people are just going to want to be around you and want to help you out. So that was like a really valuable lesson to learn early, and then and also being like what Michael was saying about connecting people. And I think putting yourself out there and helping other people out always comes back to you. Like my dad gave me a really good piece of advice that I'm sure he plagiarized from somebody else. But he said, help enough other people get what they want and you'll always get what you want. And it's totally true. So if you start putting it out into the world and you're doing enough favors for people and connecting enough other people, when you actually need something, they'll be there for you. So I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, and as an executive producer in commercials and working with 30 people on a project for 3 months, not be an asshole is a broad, it applies to a broad variety of things, and that includes, not pretending to know something that you don't know, because there are people that can help you get there and you can shadow them and learn a new skill, but constantly, and this will never get old, I see people come in with grandiose expectations of what they're capable of, or committing to a client, whether you're freelance or at a studio, saying it can be done next week when it's really next year. And I think part of that is kind of learning curves to understand how long things really do take and what your limitations are.
And not having an ego get in the way of all that.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, asking questions is so important. Like, I've definitely realized over the years, like, how much it's, like, just knowing how much you don't know is so important. And, like, being humble is really great. One thing that I find really helpful for like, just networking and kind of, like, meeting people is really thinking of it as, like, building a long-term relationship with people. And one thing that I do is, like, I don't just, so when I mentioned Twitter earlier, like, I don't just try to follow someone, like, I try to keep that conversation going as long as I can. And just, like, every now and then, like, check up and see, like, how are you doing? Or, like, how's, do you want to hang out and meet for coffee and things like that. And just, like, building those relationships that are more thinking about long term rather than, like, this is a person that I could use really helps. Like, obviously, like, everyone's a human being, but sometimes it's really hard to think about it in that way when you kind of get told, like, remember to, like, open connections and business cards and Rolodex and all that. So just remembering that there's a human connection has really been very helpful for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Kat on that. I don't know who said this, but it was really smart. Someone once told me, don't make clients, make friends. And it's definitely, like Justin said, especially working in ad, like, people are going to want to hire you as a freelancer once you go freelance. And for me, I was working at an ad agency, and so now all my old bosses hired me as an illustrator because I wasn't an asshole. And yeah, I mean, like Kat said,
And your talent. That's
That
kind
also
of
matters.
important.
and yeah, like Kat said, maintaining, like, just like being friends, like treating them like a human being. I've worked with this one magazine. I got my first job from them. It was a cover job for Washingtonian back in March, and it was one of my first magazine covers, and the creative director and I just really hit it off, and we've been friends ever since. And I think because of our friendship, I've been able to do 4 covers with them in a year, and so I definitely attribute that to not treating him like a client, just like a buddy.
Oh, I just feel like reacting to everything that everybody said. Like, where would you come off with being an asshole to begin with?
Oh,
Oh,
you'd be
it's
surprised.
just so crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway, relationships are really, really obviously key, and building them, and
Well, as Milton Glaser said, work with people you like.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So, if those people have the same vision that you have, or you admire them, and, that's really good, because you all are so good at that, but I can see that I could just come as an asshole. Because if you work for someone that doesn't have the same vision or the same standard or the same anything, it's, the creative process can be very, very difficult, right? Remember when sometimes we're shooting and the people are over here and the art directors, 13 of them, are calling in as we shoot a pizza, that when the person calls in 2 hours later and they say, move that piece 1 inch, you're like, that pizza is so over. We ate that. And so, it can be, you're all really good. That actually, you're 100% right. You have, but often the email, the thing that we learned.
that's what I was going to say. Don't send the email.
Well, just don't put
don't
the address. Don't
yeah.
put the address.
That's right.
Write
Oh,
the
yeah, that's a good
email.
idea.
Write the outrage,
That you're
the
so-
scorn, the anger, the
Yeah.
frustration. But don't put the address up there. And then delete,
Delete
delete,
it all.
delete,
Yeah.
delete,
And
and
Yeah.
then say, God, thank you so much for the opportunity.
My friend Scott said email is forever, and that's such like
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
thing to remember. Like,
Yes.
Yep, delete.
But I think you have to
Nice.
say that in the creative process, you guys are so great about that, but there is,
Oh, there's always contentious moments, and you gotta have
yes,
opinions and all that.
and
but
maybe you're right. So you have
Yeah.
you do have to navigate it, right?
Yeah, and also, I mean, what we have found is that when you're working for a client that they do this funny thing where they'll say, we love what you do,
but
and then, right, we love what you do, we're hiring you because of what you do, and now, I love you, now change, right? Isn't that what it is? And so then they're asking you to do something that you actually are not even, you're capable of, but you're not even good at doing it. And then the whole relationship is falling apart. And then you're on that side of the studio, and they're all the way over there, and they're going like, I hate them! And we're like, oh my God, what is going on here? It's so difficult. And it's like, what? And then, and then they're like, I'm sorry, we didn't like the teacup that you used. And we're going to have to just reshoot the whole thing. You're like, oh my God, how did we get there? Anyway, it's just this, so you're just constant. So really, if you can afford to not work for the person that you don't feel like you have a symbiotic understanding with, what have you, then always try to work for someone that you feel, like a good client, and someone I know said, you're only as good as your client, which is also a great one, because your client can like shackle you and not let you do, or they can let you trust you and let you bloom for what it is that you're good at doing.
Gosh, that's such an important point. This is why I stopped freelancing for a while. It's just because sometimes you hit a streak of people who you want to try working with because they're new and you haven't worked with them yet, and then it's oh gosh, they want me to do this one thing. They've already got the idea in their head of what it's going to be. They just want me to execute it. And I think one thing that I learned over time is that you're not just networking with people to find possible jobs. You also have to think about it as relationships, but really who do you want to work with, not the other way around. It's so important. And I mean, the other big thing is I go to all kinds of events and stuff like that, and I meet people, and I really start seeing whose work do I like that I would want to include in a project, or who would I want to collaborate with at some point in the future. And I find that to be really helpful, that slight shift from who's going to hire me to who do I actually want to work with.
Totally. So sometimes creative people are great at creating and developing ideas, but find it challenging to actually manage a business. So can you talk about how you learned about the business side of taking care of your projects and ventures? Who wants to start?
I'd like to start. We have a dog named Henry. He's a King Charles Cavalier that was given to Christopher and her husband, and he's our studio dog, and we've made him the CFO of our company. He's doing a heck of a job.
It's funny because you go to school and you learn how to be a creative, and you do all these things because you want to make cool shit and you want to be a creative, and suddenly you're like, oh, I have to fill out this tax paperwork or this insurance paperwork, or I didn't know that I need to be an LLC or an S Corp and all this, and it's stuff that just makes your head explode, and it's so painful. So what I've learned to do is hire other people that do that. Don't try to figure out how to do it. If you don't know how to code, I don't know how to make a website, so I made a lot of really bad ones for years for my own projects, and just made them as best I could. But now I'm like, there's so many template websites. I'm just going to use those. I'm not going to try to learn everything and be everything. I'm just going to hire the people that do that really well, and then focus on what I do well.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I think a lot of it's such boilerplate things, creating a company, setting up for taxes, preparing in advance, all that stuff. There's so many resources available now that weren't around, 15, 20 years ago, that it does make it a lot easier. And there's kind of part-time lawyers you can hire to draft a document for $100. So it's really not as overwhelming as you might think.
It's pretty overwhelming for me.
I don't know.
We've
my
been
whole
doing it
thing
for a long
was,
time.
I come as a producer. I'm used to doing budgets and schedules, which makes me fight with all the creative.
Yeah, I would send invoices and then forgot that I sent them, and then all of a sudden 4 months later I'm like, oh crap, did I ever get paid from them? And then I was like, oh, I guess I should stay on top of that. And it's not like I was rolling in it. I was just an idiot.
That's true, but one thing that comes up too that might be worth mentioning right now is, you bring up a good point about keeping track of money you're owed, fighting for the money that you think you deserve, properly setting the tone for whatever you're about to embark on to make sure that it doesn't come back and cause you scrambling or make you bitter and jaded at the end of the day. So just having a little bit of like preparation up front will go a long way. Make it
And knowing your value.
It's quite amazing. We'll work on a project, and they will. It's always a rush. Typically it's a rush. They're like, oh, we need the photographs for this book, and quickly, can we get this done? Okay, and then comes the the W-9 or the paper, the 10-9. They're like. And then we have to become a vendor. And now this is like after the project is done, when we've already submitted the bill, the invoice. And then they say, oh, by the way, we're working with a pay company now. That's now what is it, like 3 months out or something? Like, so we who are this big is now
Are carrying
a ginormous company. And why is that? And so what we kind of are learning, better at doing now is, a little bit like, oh my God, it's such an honor to be asked to do a project, but more like, are you the right client for us? Is also like, well, here are our terms, and our terms are, and this is, when you take the emotion out of money and you go, it's just business, and here are our terms, and our terms are, it's different terms for different, but more like, here are our terms, and we can't begin a project until we get a certain chunk of money, and when we deliver, we need the next chunk of money, and it is absurd.
Or even like putting parameters on how many revisions you're going to have and stuff like that.
So it is, you just have to oh my God, that is one of the things in running. I remember when I first started catering, and I do a job, and the person would come to me. We never discuss money, nothing, and I'd do a beautiful job, and then I'd hand them the bill, and they'd freak out, and I'm like, oh my God, I charged you too much money. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay, it's nothing. It's $25 a person instead of, and then I just ate the whole job. It's like, and then over this course of time, it's like, no, take the emotion out, get all the money stuff up front, and set your boundaries, just like. Because they will ram them down your throat.
But you know what we did? We started a new little thing, actually. We started one where we have almost made up. Like in the very beginning, when we first were doing our books and we had to ship everything, we shipped it. So we had like Myrtle Krebitz, and she was in charge of shipping and handling and shipping. And it was us. So we'd sign, we just made her up, and we'd sign all the letters that people would write back, Dear Myrtle, and because we thought we needed to separate. So even now, after all this time,
she's a hard ass too, right?
Yeah, she's tough. She has glasses, and she's like pointy cat glasses, and a sweater with the sweater chain and everything. So she doesn't have a life. She has a cat. But anyway, even now, we just are doing a project. I mean, this is how hard it is, the money thing. And the money thing is so hard, and especially for creative people. And we just say, well, we have a new business manager, and we can't start a project. I mean, this is what they say. It's not us. I mean, we do it for nothing. But they say, no, we can't start a project unless we get half the fee. I mean, that's how they just work now. So, and actually, we don't really have anyone saying that to us. We're saying that.
Yeah, there's so many potential clients. They're going to get an email from Myrtle, and they're like, I know what's up.
Yeah.
It's really smart, though.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
Sorry. From like the product side of things, like with Brooklyn Gamery, so we ran into a couple things. Since we had started at a hackathon, we figured like, oh, we should just LLC and we'll use LegalZoom. It'll be great. Except if one of your team members leaves, there's no real like form, as far as I know, that like automatically allows you to revise your whole LLC agreement. So we were like, well, what do we do now? So like we just ran into a whole bunch of fun like legal gobbledygook, and we had no idea what we were doing. Find someone who knows what they're doing, even if you need to like trade, like do like a bartering system or something. Yeah, exactly. Like, find a lawyer
Yeah.
and do their website for them. They
I
will
did
give
that.
you a couple of hours of work. Find a good lawyer also. But yeah, I mean,
Recommended.
oh my gosh, business stuff is still not, like, I wasn't even prepared, even though I thought it was. Like, in SVA, there was a class called, like, Small Business Design, and I took it, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready, I've got my business plan, I know what I'm doing. When I got out, and I had no idea of, it's just so intense, and I don't think anyone's ever prepared for it, and then they get out there, and I think eventually you kind of get better at understanding some of the legalese and dealing with all this paperwork and dealing with all the taxes and all the fun, crazy stuff. But yeah, it's always a surprise at first.
We have one thing to say. I'll start and finish, which is that this time is an amazing time for entrepreneur. To be an entrepreneur, everyone can be. I kind of grew up at a time that shall remain quiet. That everything seemed possible to us. We just did anything we wanted to do, and we always thought there'd be jobs. I don't know. We just were free.
Yes.
But it feels like that again to us. And we started our business without. We just step by step got into it. And as we said, the music business inspired us. We realized that opportunity of the internet, that the whole world was right out there. If we put it out there, maybe they could come to us. Whatever it is that any of us make, we have this opportunity. We don't need to rely on someone else to take it. But so we started our business, and we actually did very well. When we say very well enough to satisfy us, not making millions of dollars or anything like that. But it was working. And then the man came to us because they liked what we were doing. And so they said, we want to help you. And, that kind of legitimatized in our minds because we came out of that. And we thought, oh, this is great. This is great. And in some paternal way, it felt like now we were going to be free to create, and someone else would sort of handle things for us. And so we did that. And actually, it's not the model for now. What everybody is talking about, doing it yourself, is much more of a modern model. There is no middleman anymore. And that didn't work for us.
Yeah, I don't know, is that abstract, what Chris was saying? Or is that?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Yeah, so we had kind of reached the maximum of our. We reached as many people as we could with our books and we thought if we brought in there were a lot of people interested in what we were doing, and someone came in and said, we'd like to distribute you and get you further out, way further out than and we thought, okay, well that sounds about right. That's how you grow a business. And so we did make a partnership, and with the hoping that that this distribution would take us beyond our saturated circle of people that knew about us. And it was it ultimately, and so we're like, so what Chris was saying is, we felt like, Daddy's come in, and Daddy's going to help us now, or the big company is going to help us, and they're going to take care of everything. We can go back to focusing on the creative, and they'll take care of the distribution. But it turns out, that we know how to represent ourselves better than anybody does, and there's such a strong connection between us and our people, our following, what have you, that was a much more effective way than this relying on, the big company, the old model. And so it was, so we've taken it back, basically. We've taken our company back and are putting our energies into, that's the hard part, you have to create and then you have to promote and you have to market and all of that stuff, which we're really good at doing. You have to sort of divide your time between, there was one of the questions of the ebb and flow of it. It's like, but ultimately, no, you know what? The lawyers aren't going to save the day for you. The distributors aren't going to save the day for you. The big companies aren't going to swoop down. Nobody's going to swoop in and sort of take care of you. That's the new way seems to be that you really have to. You have to Xerox you have to go to the Staples and Xerox your own thing. There's no secretary that does that for you anymore, and you've got to market
Unless
yourself.
you get an intern.
And you've got to,
They'll do anything you say.
That is,
Anyone looking
yeah,
for an internship?
Yeah, then you got to. Anyway, so that sort of.
So it's
that
the
was a
good
big-
news and the bad news.
a big,
It's in your hands.
Yeah,
It's in all of our
which
hands,
is sort of
and that's
what we
wonderful.
love to do anyway, right?
I think
So.
for me, there wasn't I just assumed everything would happen faster than it did. So when you start a business, you're like, I got this great idea and it's gonna blow up and all that, and then you realize it's a shitload of work and it takes time. And I assumed I'd be able to make it profitable in 2 months, and you only have the money saved in the bank for that. And then you're like, well, actually, this is taking a year, and then you're like, oh, I got to take freelance gigs. You got to just adapt and you got to change your plan. And I think I just assumed that it would be easy, and especially starting a legitimate business, and it's way harder than I ever expected. So, yeah.
You really have to have a stomach for
risk.
For risk, exactly.
It takes a hustle. And it's almost like a
You
gambler's
have to have a
mentality.
stomach. You have to, in the middle of the night when you're freaking out about, you have to find a way to just keep on keeping on. It's very stressful, but I think that if I was, sort of working in a big company and sort of punching in, punching out, I'd be mad out of my mind. I'd be bored out of my mind. So it's the nature of what we're doing.
It's exciting.
So we have time for a couple more questions, and I'd like to ask each panelist to bring us up to date and tell us one thing that you're doing right now that excites you. Justin.
I'm excited because I finally have help. We made so it was Adam and I for basically 3 years doing everything ourselves besides the coding and designing of the site. And in November, we hired a director of talent to help us find amazing people to invite to the network. Claire, who's here, is our director of marketing. She joined us in December. We hired a community manager. We just hired a lead designer, so we're going to bring all of our design and development in-house. We hired a new business director to help us find more clients, and it's amazing even just hiring one person how much more you can get done. And it's kind of crazy, and you start to realize that the things that you've been imagining in your head for so long are actually possible with a little bit of help and enabling people and trusting people, and you can start to see where it's going to go. And it's just I can see not the light at the end of the tunnel, but I can see the momentum, and that gets really exciting for me. So.
I guess the thing I'm most excited about currently, I'm celebrating 1 year of being freelance. But yeah, the current project I'm working on is called Will Letter for Lunch. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not. It's basically the concept where I go around to restaurants in New York and I offer to letter their chalkboard menus or signs. In exchange, all they have to pay me is exactly what I write. So if I write one special, I get one plate of food. If I write the whole menu, I get the whole menu. So I started this, it's a passion project that started similar to Daily Dishonesty. Had the idea last summer, whipped up some flyers, went around with my girlfriends, pitched to some restaurants, and it was just kind of a fun thing that I was doing, and then it got a bunch of press over the last couple months, and now I'm doing paid chalk work, so I'm kind of looking forward to that next chapter of my career.
It's such a good lesson to just start doing the things you want to
Yeah.
do, and then
Do the work that
do
you
it
wanna-
well. Yeah, do the work you want,
Yeah.
and then it'll come to you.
And the internet is a monster, you guys. You put something cool out there, and it'll just suck it up.
Cool. So I already mentioned the game that we're releasing, so that's old news. But I guess in more recent news, it's kind of also related. I kind of mentioned that I'm getting to do a lot of marketing stuff, which I haven't gotten to do in a couple of years actually. And one thing is like I actually built some like press kits last night, and I was really excited about that because it was like embedded in the website, and it's not like a Google Drive document anymore. Like I spent so much time formatting it, and I was so excited about that. And then we're gonna like have we're gonna be doing some game jams that are gonna be coming up, so I get to do more logo work and stuff. So I'm really excited about the chance to not just do like programming and user experience stuff, but also get back into like graphic design and stuff like that. It's really fun.
In addition to Oval beginning to be manufactured, I spent 2 years, a few years ago, helping to create an entertainment company that creates content with a social purpose. So that means we create games and entertainment that ties into charitable component. And this was, I guess, my penance for spending so many years in advertising and feeling like I had no soul. So it was 2 years of a lot of hard work and nothing really happened. But now we gained a new momentum, and we partnered with the NBA and NBA Cares. We're working on creating an app for them for their All-Star game. So, you know, it's good because even things that you never think are going to materialize into anything, sometimes they come back around.
Canal House is going to go online, and we're developing a subscription-based website and a series of online journals and a community site, an incubator is the word that we're using now. Christopher can describe it a little bit better. We're about to launch a Kickstarter to help us get some of the technology we need to make this very whizzy, cool, interactive online journals.
And we also kind of went to what it is that we are, and everyone's very good at self-promoting, but we also know a whole lot of people. Our whole mission is about home cooking, because so many people in the food world who do cookbooks. There's so many wonderful chefs and so many great restaurants, but that experience is a little bit different. It's very difficult to cook food from a restaurant at home. It's that food is supposed to be exciting and a little bit complex, and so we're all working until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and you come home. I mean, you can barely do the hamburger helper, But so our mission has been to give people recipes, and our books are so you'll cook at home, and it's what we do. So, but we know a whole lot of people who never have a website, they never have a blog, they're just not that way, but they're the best home cooks that we know. And so we've been in touch with everyone, and we're bringing them onto our site. They're people that even very famous people, restaurateurs, go to for their advice because they'll be experts in spices, like Nilofer Ichapura King, who if you don't have, she wrote a wonderful cookbook, My Bombay Kitchen, one cookbook. And but she helped shape Anise. She's an amazing woman. So we also have another woman who teaches families how to cook together. And so we're giving them their own little blog or their column on our site because they can't quite get that together, but it's such a gift to give to people because they have so much to say, but you'd never hear what they say. We can pick up the phone and call them, but now our people can do the same thing. And when we told a friend of ours what we were doing, she said, "Oh, well, actually, that's the newest thing, incubator websites." And we didn't even know that. And we said, yeah, because we told our friends, well, why don't you do this with us? And then at the end of a year, you'll have something. And if you want to write a book or you want to go ahead and make your own blog or make your own website, you'll actually have material content because content is king. And so anyway, so that's a little bit what we're into.
That's great, thank you. So just one last question. If everyone on the panel can just offer one piece of advice to anyone in the audience who might be inclined to take the leap into entrepreneurship. One bit of advice.
All right, we know. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Just do it.
I would say have money saved. Which isn't bad, but you have a little bit of money saved, because even if you decide to go and do it and you're freelancing, it always takes time to get paid and all that. So maybe you just have a little bit of foresight and plan a little bit ahead, and then just do it.
Yeah, I agree with I agree with both of those points. Like, I think there's a halfway point. Like, be practical about it. Like, I know a lot of people who, at least like me, I slowly transitioned into freelancing from my full-time job. So it's good to like have some money put away and to like slowly, I don't know. I wouldn't jump in right away, but
You can make things as a
yeah,
hobby and then
yeah,
become
exactly.
a job.
Have
so
your side projects
still be
and
making things.
make your side projects into your full-time job. Be smart, don't go broke.
Don't curl the curl.
Yes.
Don't curl the curl.
I would say that my piece of advice is to stay quiet about it until you actually do it. That way, if for some reason it bombs, no one has to hear about it. And then once you've actually done it, you can start yelling about it and being like, yeah, look at this cool stuff we're doing. And that's like a good fail-safe.
Oh, I do the opposite of that. I tell everybody, and then it holds me accountable to make it succeed.
That's fair too.
So it's like, and then you're like,
Depends
oh
on how
shit,
you work.
everybody's counting on that thing I've been blabbing about for 6 months.
That's quite fair. It depends on how you work.
Yeah, exactly. What motivates you?
I would recommend that you find a mentor or somebody who's done it better than you, or that you can learn from, and they give you a crash course on how to do it. Because with any venture, especially in the creative arts, there's really no definitive rule book that you can follow, and I think you have to be flexible and be open to a bunch of crazy things that will come up that aren't even on your radar right now. So.
Thank you. So that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for your thoughts and experiences and sharing them with this audience. So at this point, we're going to open up for questions from the audience. There are 2 microphones in each aisle. And if you have a question, raise your hand and wait until the microphone is handed to you to speak your question. And you can address it to an individual panelist if you like, or if it's open to anyone, you can let us know.
We set out to not take a percentage because we think commissions inhibit collaboration. If people are, especially if you deal with a headhunter, if you get a job through a headhunter, people are willing to pay that fee one time, and then they are looking to hire anybody except for you because they don't want to pay the fees again. And there's different models with Illustrator reps and all that. But so for us, it's free for the creatives because we want to have the best creatives in the world on the site, and we charge the companies a monthly subscription per user. So they just pay $275 a month, and they have access to all the talent.
Maybe it was a bad marriage. Maybe.
But it could also be that in publishing right now, everything is a little up in the air because, print books versus digital is, you only have 6 weeks on the bookshelves in a bookstore. 6 weeks, and then they almost consider you backlisted. So the sales people really, they want something new. And we also had a number of books that they just didn't quite know how to package, and I think that what they want to do is make anyone would make one phone call and sell to a giant chain with 1,000 stores, and if those people bought 100 books each store, that'd be 100,000 books. Versus old-fashioned way. My grandfather was a salesman, and he knew every person that he would go by. He knew their grandchildren, he knew their children, he'd go, and he had relationships. And so that idea of going to gift stores and small bookstores that might like our type of thing, there's no time for that. So it is that the industry is really, nobody quite knows what's going to happen. I mean, think of digital and books are very expensive to print books, and you have to ship them and store them and destroy them when they don't sell, versus a digital book, which you just push a button, and distribute that way. So it's the industry, but also we understand our material. So we thought it was a good idea, but it wasn't. But I guess why we even say it is because we were able to realize this didn't work for us, and we took it back ourselves, and we'll figure out how to make it work now. And so it isn't that we want complete control. We'd love someone to help us out.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we do, we always want the person, like if Christopher writes something and then I go on top of it, or vice versa, or because it's a total collaboration. We always want the next person to make it better. I mean, they have to make it better. And so the editor, the copy editor, anybody we're in partnership, they have to make it better. And if they're not doing it better, then we think we're control freaks, but it's only because they're not making it better. We would welcome when somebody can do it better. So there's a big influx right now.
Yeah.
They don't quite, there's an old model that the publishing business is working on. And it's like steering, what is it, like one of those huge battleship, aircraft carriers. It's like, how are we gonna, they don't quite know how to do it. And so the other thing is that they'll the business is where they'll give you an advance. If they give you a big advance, then they're going to put all their energy into you because they got to make their advance back. They've got to make their money back. If they give you a little advance, it's like, okay, you're on for 6 weeks. Good luck. You're on your own, and you've got to sell yourself. Anyway, we like it. Not because we want to, but it's because we find that it's the best for our business at this point.
I think it depends on what you're looking to do. Like for myself, I'm a filmmaker producer, so Vimeo and YouTube have been the best channels when I can't get to my website. I'm sure everyone has a different medium of choice.
Yeah, I'm an illustrator, and so the more visual social media networks tend to fare better for me. I'm not really on Twitter, but Instagram and Tumblr are huge for me just because I can post my work there. Yeah, definitely those ones.
I found that I put stuff out on Twitter, or one of the things I learned, it took me a long time to realize, is having a mailing list goes a long way. If people are willing to invite you into their inbox, that's invaluable. And so with New York City Garbage, I didn't have a mailing list for the longest time. When we started Monster So, we had a mailing list, and instantly we had, within a few weeks, we had 3,000 people in there. So that was a really good way to get out. And then blogs, just start writing about stuff, and it kind of perpetuates itself. So Twitter's a good way for that to get out.
Yeah, I mean, I love creating like animated GIFs, specifically for like visual media that like moves, like games. It's really good to be on platforms that play a lot of animated GIFs. So I really like Tumblr, and I try to hook up all my media to each other. So I have Tumblr that will post to Twitter, and then like I have a hookup for like Facebook and things like that. And again, as everyone said, it really depends on the type of thing that you're creating, because like if you're creating something that is like a product that's like worn or something like that, you want to sell that differently and put that in different places and communicate that in a different way.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter on occasion.
Anybody use Pinterest?
Which is where I fell.
Nobody uses that.
I have my email.
I have -3 Twitter followers.
Also, for me, advertising-wise, just like word of mouth and like internet reblogs and just like general, just like the way the internet works, just kind of like.
It's important to have an idea simple enough that people can share it in 140 characters. If it's too complicated, then it's going to be difficult to share.
So it's difficult to track down the top tier person that you admire because you don't know how to reach them. And it's really difficult to get people's attention and to focus when you're in the middle of a production or a tough deadline. So the trick is always to find people in between, someone whose work you admire, but they're not crazy busy or crazy stressed, and kind of reach out and ask them for advice. That's been important to me, learning every step of the way, and I've tried to return the favor in the last 15 years by mentoring young talent who now I can't even afford to hire. So it's kind of like the circle of life, and I think you just find people that are willing to help you. Because you're going to learn more in an hour conversation than 10 years, as an assistant somewhere.
Yeah, I actually have a funny story that goes off of that. Justin was one of my idols when I was in school, and if there's any, so I'll just tell the story. He was one of my idols in school. He was in advertising, but 5-6 years ahead of me? 22 years ahead of me. I forget. I graduated in 2013.
11 years ahead.
Awesome. And the design ad world was very small, and one summer we were both at the Cannes Advertising Festival in the south of France somehow at the same party, and I'm drunk, and I see him from across the room, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do it. And I just walked up to him, and I was like, are you Justin Geenak? And I just gushed about his work for 30 minutes, and now we're friends. So just, if there's someone you admire,
Flattery goes a long way.
Flattery goes a
I was
long
almost
way.
in tears when she was telling me, because she was the first person to ever come up to me and know who I was. And I was just like, oh my God, you were the sweetest thing ever. But keep going, you can keep going. All right, thank you. And then but then I wanted to help her because I wanted to adopt her and I wanted to help her, and we met coffee and I told her to quit her job. But it's endearing yourself to somebody goes a long way.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to follow them to France like a weirdo, but but it works.
So thank you so much to our panelists and to our audience for attending.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you all for coming out on this lovely evening in New York City. My name is Jane Nuzzo, and I'm the Director of SVA Alumni Affairs, and it is my very great pleasure to bring you tonight's presentation on creative entrepreneurship. This evening's presentation is presented in partnership with SVA Alumni Affairs and SVA Career Development. This evening, we will explore the alchemy of the creative impulse and the entrepreneurial spirit, as our outstanding panel of SVA alumni discuss the spectrum from frustration to triumph of their experiences working independently in cooking and culinary arts, film, fine arts, graphic design, product design, publishing, video and new media, and web, app, and game design. Before I introduce the panel, I'd like to highlight a couple of things to you. Please note that this Friday, Career Development is hosting a related event, a follow-up discussion on creative entrepreneurship, and details can be found in your program, so please take a look at that. And also, following this evening's program, SVA alumni are invited to join us in the lobby for a private networking reception. Alumni, please exit the theater to the right in order to check in immediately following the event. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce tonight's wonderful panel. Moderating this evening is Patricia Romeo. Patty is an Emmy Award-winning film producer and Assistant Director of Career Development at SVA. Joining Patty are Justin Geenak.
It's a group called Open Gamery, and we are making a game called Prism Shell, which was the one that was shown earlier. And we started at a hackathon, and we decided we wanted to make a game because there was a games category, and we found out that we really liked working together, so we just kind of kept going from there and formed our own company. And there's always some bumps, especially with game development, so even though we'd started in October 2013, and we technically finished the first version of the game, we realized we really had a lot of work to do, and the operating system we had initially been actually building this game for ended up being delayed indefinitely at the time. So we just decided to switch and kind of like build out the game more, and we are almost actually ready to release it now. And I've been doing a lot of user experience design, game design, marketing design, web development, all kinds of things for this game, and it's been a lot of fun.
I always have about 15 projects running at one time. The one I'm currently most involved with is Oval, which is a small sensor that can detect any changes in motion, acceleration, light, temperature, moisture, and proximity. And whenever it's disturbed, it'll send an alert to your phone or email anywhere in the world instantly. So the idea being, in a nutshell, you can use these to monitor doors, windows, alcohol cabinets, prescription drugs, cleaning chemicals, your pet, your child, and it's not as big brother as you think, but it can really protect the people, pets, and things that you care about most, and that's what our ultimate goal is.
Hi there, I'm Melissa Hamilton, and Christopher Hersheimer and I have a company called Canal House Cooking, and we produce, design, write, photograph, illustrate a series of seasonal cookbooks called Canal House Cooking. Our studio is in Lambertville, New Jersey.
Justin is an award-winning art director, co-founder of Working Not Working, which has won 2 Webby Awards and was named by Entrepreneur magazine as one of the 100 Brilliant Companies of 2013. He has gained notoriety for creating projects such as NYC Garbage and Wants for Sale, Needs for Sale. He also created the best-selling Christmas app, Elf Yourself. Melissa Hamilton is a home cook, writer, painter, and co-founder of Canal House, a cookbook and food photography production studio. Hamilton worked at Saveur with her creative and business partner, Christopher Hersheimer, who also joins us this evening. Together, they currently publish Canal House Cooking, and they have produced videos for the Bon Appetit series, The Seasonal Cooks, and their books have been honored with awards from the James Beard Foundation and nominations from the IACP in photography and food styling. Michael Harry is an executive producer of live-action and animated commercials, music videos, documentaries, films, and new media content. He owns a production company, Concentrate LLC, and has produced campaigns for clients such as Chanel, Chase, Diesel, HSBC, Johnson & Johnson, and MTV. He is also co-founder and CMO for Oval, a tech company that has created the first consumer smart sensor. Lauren Hahn is a California-born, Brooklyn-based designer and letterer. She has created work for clients like AT&T, Starbucks, Time, and YouTube. Lauren was recently cited in New York Magazine's Reasons to Love New York for her Will Letter for Lunch project, and is the author of the blog Daily Dishonesty. Her work has been recognized by the art director.
We have produced 9 books so far. One of them, Canal House Cooks Every Day, which was a James Beard award-winning book. It was fun. And we are working on our next book and a bunch of others, and just like all of us as entrepreneurs, which we crack up when we hear that word. But you've got a lot of projects in the fire. You have to. So there we are.
So all of you have an active online presence that's helped you develop what you're currently doing. Some of you have built a great following with your blogs, Kat with the Cat Suite, Lauren with the blog Daily Dishonesty, Melissa and Christopher with Canal House Cooks, Justin and Michael, you both mentioned that using social media and or portfolio sites helped you build your current ventures. So I'd like to ask you each to talk about this in more detail, what you've done online and how it has helped you. Just choose, one example.
I think the biggest thing besides my blog, which started a long time ago at this point, has definitely been Twitter. For me, it works really well. I try to stay away from here's like what I'm eating, or like, wow, I just went to the bathroom, which is fine, but I really try to make it like kind of relevant for people, and I guess people have started to find it interesting, and now I have almost 2,000 followers, which in comparison to a lot of people I know isn't a lot, but when I started, I mean, I had like none, and then I had 300, and then come like 3 years later or so, and now I have like a fair amount, and it's been really great, and just going to like all these different events and following.
Directors Club, Communication Arts, the One Club, and the Webby Awards. And finally, Kat Small. Kat is a gamer, product designer, and front-end web developer at SoundCloud. She has created design work for companies such as Bedrocket, NASDAQ OMX, and Scholastic. She makes video games with Buttered Toast Studios and Brooklyn Gamery, organizes events for Tech Under 30, teaches game development with the Code Liberation Foundation, and draws comics. Please join me in welcoming this evening's panel, the Creative Entrepreneur.
Hi guys, my name is Lauren, and my current entrepreneurial endeavor is running my own kind of one-woman illustration studio. I do work for advertising clients and editorial clients, and at the time I'm also promoting my book, Daily Dishonesty, which actually started as a blog that I started when I was a student at SVA, and we just rolled out with a whole line of paper products as well.
Hi, I'm Justin. Right now, I've put all of my side art projects on the back burner. I've been focusing for the past 3 years on Working Not Working. And basically, Working Not Working is an invite-only curated network of the best freelance creatives in the country. And it started out because my business partner, Adam Tompkins, and I were both freelancers. And we realized when you're a freelancer, it's so hard to find work. Whenever you need work, you have to email everybody you know in the entire world trying to find a gig. And then it takes forever for them to get back to you. And finally, as soon as you get a gig, like without fail, every single time, you get 5 offers for other jobs when you absolutely can't take them. So we thought we'd make it really simple, almost like a vacancy sign. Freelancers go on the site, they make a really simple profile with their current availability, whether they're working, available, or available soon. And then companies, brands, ad agencies go on and they follow their favorite freelancers and get notified the second they become available for jobs.
My current venture is